Hey, Josh.
Hi, Jonah.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Um, Two questions for you.
Yes.
So as we were talking about yesterday with the discrepancy, when is your mother-in-law's yard site? So I am going to read her name today along with the list of everybody else. How is her last name pronounced? Kaunitz?
Uh,
Kaunitz?
Kaunitz.
Kaunitz.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other question is, would one of your kids be willing to do Kiddush in her memory today?
Um, I I think I'll say yes for them. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah. Um,
Well, let me make you co-host.
okay.
Uh,
I seem to remember, and I was telling Mara this. I seem to remember that when I had heard that Mara's mom died, it was still light out.
okay.
But
But then I guess that's okay.
I'll send
yeah.
you an email.
Okay.
We'll fix it. We'll
Yeah.
fix it. Hey, Matt.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. How are you?
I'm terrific. I was just setting up my computer. I'll be back.
No, it's okay. What a nice cover picture you have.
He looks good, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
You wonder where he gets the good looks from.
It's definitely his mom.
He looks good, and the kid does too.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom, Marv. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good.
How are you, Rabbi?
How are you?
Great, great. We're really fine.
Good.
Good to see you. How's your family?
We're all good. We're all good. You got some milestones coming up this coming week to observe.
Biggies.
Yeah. Very nice.
Oh, God.
Is it 60th wedding anniversary?
Yep. On the
Wow.
10th. On the
Wow.
10th.
And your 85th birthday.
And my 85th, yes.
Yeah.
On the 15th.
Right. Wow.
We're lucky. We're very lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
And last
Shabbat
week,
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, David.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'm up early because I'm having a colonoscopy. Normally, wanted to be on
On a
here.
Saturday?
Yeah. Sorry,
That's
I
unusual.
had to put the video down because of where I am.
That's right. Yeah. 6:20 in the morning in California. Okay.
Actually, I started at 5 a.m.
Ah,
But if I started at I'm watching a Frank Butley interview. Hang on. Anyway, my site. It's first night of Hanukkah.
okay.
Will I be getting a notice? Debbie or myself didn't give me.
A notice of
Your site. I'm on your site.
let me see when it is on the list. When did you say it is?
It's always, as you said, at her shiva. It's always the first night of Hanukkah.
Yes, I see it here for Friday, and yeah, it is Thursday night and Friday, and I'm not sure why you didn't get a notice, and I will check with the office on Monday to find out.
My sister finds it. Here, let me put my yarmulke on. I got Ralph's shirt on now. My sister found it ironic that Sue donated to the rabbi's discretionary fund for Ralph. After you used your discretion not to have her for you to read her what was it? the at his funeral. I'm having a senior moment.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
I see your daughter on Facebook all the time. I think we're on the Facebook Springbrook page together.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
Where does she live? Florida or Texas or Arizona? Arizona, right?
Arizona. Are you talking about Anne?
Yes.
Yeah, Arizona.
Did you ever find a place to live? A new house?
No, I'm in the same place where I've always lived.
I thought you were thinking of Leisure World.
Oh, now's no time to move.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Now nobody thinks about moving. You're glad you can stay where you are, and if you're healthy, that's a blessing.
That's it. Baruch Hashem.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, everyone's life is. You're lucky if it's on hold.
Yep. Rabbi, it's the hardest thing to find. I've been looking for an hour for your link. Your website has no links on it, just so you know. I know.
It
On your
does. No, the links are there.
on
So-
your website.
You're on
The
the
link on the
website.
Shabbat sheet requires a password, so I had to go hunt down your email.
I have to figure that, yes. Somebody mentioned that last Shabbat too, and then I can't write it down because it's Shabbat to look into that. So,
I've been searching since 5:30 California time.
all right, well, you still made it on time, but it's the COVID-19 page has all the services there that you just hover over it and you click, or the calendar page.
On your website, because I saw the
Yes.
calendar page.
Yeah,
But
so
I-
you just have to go, just says Shabbat morning service 9:30, click on that and you see
I didn't see any links at all on your website, but it was on my phone, not the desktop. So I'll look
okay,
again,
okay,
just so you know.
all right.
I'm Matt and Brandon, if you're really there.
He said he was doing something with his computer.
Oh,
So what Machzor do you? what is your-
Siddur.
Shabbat Siddur. Thank you for Shabbat.
We have this one, the red one, or
Uh-huh.
I call pages from that, or this one, this blue
Got
one.
it.
and
David!
either one can be downloaded from the Rabbinical Assembly site.
Oh, really? What's
There's
the
also there's also a link to it on the website, the PDF.
What is the rabbinical website? I'm going to go to your website.
It's it's a
Just
lot of
Google
steps.
Rabbinical Assembly and it'll get you there.
Yeah, but our shul website has it, the COVID-19 page. It says Shabbat morning prayers. And you just click on it.
Okay, I'll do that. Well,
Cantor Adina, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
David Polinsky, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
well, let me get my. Should I put on Ralph's Hollis or my own? Good
Tallis
idea.
is a tallis.
For one of my kids.
Oh, and we have Dina Eber
Yeah, doing Ashrei.
Ashrei.
Yes. Yeah, I contacted her parents, just make sure they had the link
Yeah.
to get
Good.
on today. So, yeah, that's good.
Good
Fantastic.
Shabbos all.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
I put on my daughter Layla's. How do you like this? I had all my triplets have their own talis made from Jerusalem.
Very
Jerusalem.
Very nice.
Shabbat
Hi,
Shalom,
Dina.
Cantor.
Shabbat Shalom. Who was
Shabbat
that?
Shalom.
This is
Charlotte.
Ralph from California. Ralph
Ah.
Shapiro.
Shabbat
This is
Shalom.
Ralph Shapiro's son from California.
Stuart, Shabbat Shalom.
Hello.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Ready for the
Shalom,
hot
Stuart.
dog?
Shalom, Stuart.
How's it going, my crew? My other family, my family from another family.
Brother from another mother.
Yeah, I got so many. Yeah.
Stuart, I look at your face and I think you should have a shofar in your mouth.
I guess I haven't blown. I blew it last night actually.
Okay,
I practice when I go to mom's. My hobby is to practice.
that's good.
Good.
Even though it's not
Oh,
Rosh
Shabbat
Hashanah
Shalom.
anymore. It's fun for me. I enjoy it.
That's we know you do.
Yeah.
My mom just came in. Sharon's here.
Okay, that's good.
I'm all set.
You got the blessings with it also.
Yes, I do.
Very
He is prepared.
That's good.
35 years of singing. Well, the first time I sang it was 98.
That's right. It's 22 years. You're 35 years
22
old.
years.
22 years of doing the Haftarah.
But I read Torah when I was much more younger than that.
Michael.
Morning. Shabbos, everybody.
Shabbat
Good morning. Good Shabbos.
How many people are on here? There's got to be
There's 18,
Yeah.
17.
18.
18.
18. Great number. 718.
Right.
Hi.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom.
Hi. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I love sitting with my space heater on. It feels so good. I love it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a cold
Really
day
warmed up
today.
like I'm inside like a sauna at a pool.
Uh-huh.
I haven't been to a pool in a long time, so I haven't.
Right.
Going to the steam rooms, you gotta be careful.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbos.
Look at his background.
And sometimes he has summary stuff.
I always carry my fidget spinners with me when I get very nervous.
What'd you say, Stuart, about getting nervous?
I have a fidget spinner that I use.
Oh, okay, good. Good.
Hey, you know what I still got in my toss bag? The old Sunkist.
You got the fruit gems in there? That's good.
I got something in here. Let me see.
You came prepared.
That's right. Maybe your mom and your sister can throw the fruit gems at you after you're done the Haftarah.
That's a great idea.
Oh, no. You know, it's like, but
That
like, get phone in the
Rabbi-
face with a pie or something, I will not mind it.
All right,
Rabbi-
folks, we're going
Rabbi,
to get started.
on your site on the my desktop, and I'm on the COVID page. Where's the siddur?
You just go down, just scroll down where it says Shabbat morning prayers or Shabbat service, something like that. And it's a link to the PDF. But so everybody is going to be muted now. So Josh, if you can take care of that, mute all. And Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shalom.
Very okay. We're good. The people who need to be unmuted are unmuted. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're looking forward this morning to Stuart Zittimer chanting the Haftarah for the anniversary of his bar mitzvah. And we begin the service on page 147 in Lev Shalem or 105 in the Shabbat Shalom Shochenad.
Shochenad marom v'kadosh shemo.
Shochenad marom v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv ranu tzadikim b'Adonai shemo.
V'chatuv ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai la yesharim nava tehila b'fi sharim titalal u'v'divrei tzadikim titbarach u'v'lashon chasidim titromam uvekerev kedoshim titkadash uvemakhalot rivavot amecha beit Yisrael. שכן חובת כל יצורים לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפאר, לרומם, להדר, לברך, להלל ולקלס על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. קדושה ומלכות, ברכות ויודעות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אל חיי העולמים.
And if we can, we rise for Chatzah
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה, בעלמא דברה קירותך, וימליך מלכותך בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. שמך רבה מברך, לעולם ולעמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמך בקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai Amvorach Leolam Vaed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל.
May be seated. We continue in Lev Shalem, page 150, Sim Shalom 107. Hakol yaducha, kol yishabachucha, kol yimru kadosh kadonai.
אין קרקך ואין זולתך, אפס בלתך ומדומה לך. אין כערכך אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה, ואין זולתך מלכנו לחיי העולם הבא. אפס בלתך גואלנו לימות המשיח, ואין דומה לך מושיענו לתחיית המתים. אל אדון על כל המעשים, ברוך מבורך בפי כל נשמה, גודלו וטובו מעל לעולם, דעת ותבונה סובבים אותו, המתגאה על חיות הקודש, ונדר בכבוד על המרכבה, זכות ומישור לפני כיסאו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו, טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו, יצרם בדעת, בבינה ובהשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם, להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה, נעזיבם בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים בהם הרצון קונם, פאר וכבוד נותנים לשמו, צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו, קרא לשמש ויזרח אור, ראה והתקין צורת הלבנה, שבח נותנים לו כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, שרפים ואופנים וחיות הקודש. לאל אשר שבת מכל המעשים.
In Lave Shalem, we continue the top of 152 onto 153. In Sim Shalom, the top of 109 onto 110.
תתברך מושיענו השבח מעשה ידיך, ועל מאורעו שעשית יפארך הסלע. תתברך צורנו מלכנו וגואלנו בורא קדושים, ישתבח שמך למלכנו וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושה ובטהרה, בשירה ובזמרה, ומברכים ומשבחים ומפארים ומעריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול, הגיבור והנורא קדוש הוא. וכולם מקבלים עליהם עול מלכות שמיים זה מזה, וכולם מקבלים עליהם עול מלכות שמיים זה מזה, ונותנים רשות זה לזה להקדיש ליוצרם בנחת רוח, בשפה גבוהה ובנימה קדושה, כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. באופנים וחיות הקודש, ברעש גדול מתנשאים לעומת צרפים, לעומתם משבחים ואומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, לאל ברוך נימו תיתנו. המחדש בטובו בכל יום תמיד מעשה וראשית כאמור, לעושה אורים גדולים כי לעולם חסדו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו, מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות.
Page 154 in Lave Shalem, 111 in Sim Shalom, we gather together the four corners of our talit, the tzitzit, in preparation for the Shema.
והאר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, ולא נבוש לשם קודשך, הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בשועתך. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועת אתה, ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע באמת, להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
We continue the middle of 156 in Lev Shalem or the top of 113 in Sim Shalom.
ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם, ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים אני. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת, יציב נכון וקיים. לדור ודור הוא קיים, ושמו קיים, וחיסון נכון, ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת.
אין אלוהים זולתך.
אמת, שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, מלכנו מלך אבותינו, גואלנו גואל אבותינו, יוצרנו צור ישועתנו, פודנו ומצילנו מעולם שמך, אין אלוהים זולתך. את שפת אבותינו אתה הוא מעולם, מגן נשים.
שמחה רבה.
תהילות לאל עליון, ברוך הוא ומבורך, משה ומרים ובני ישראל לכנו שירה, בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. שיר החדשה, שיר גאולים, לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו, והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
We rise if we can.
צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופדחי נאומך, יהודה וישראל. גואלנו, אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
We start the Amida out loud, page 159 in Lev Shalem, 115 in Sim Shalom.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ופוקד, ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
וקדש שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, כאן וידבר כרזה אל זה ויאמר.
נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו.
רעש גדול דרך חזק משמיעים כל מנסים ומצרפים ומתם ברוך ימירו.
אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנשאים לעומת צרפים, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו.
מכים צפייה ומאכלנו כמחמלה. דוד משיח.
מקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון? בקרוב ביומנו, לעולם ותשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים, ועינינו תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. על ידי דוד משיח צדקך, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue silently in Lev Shalem 162 to 166 and Sim Shalom 117 to 120. Yismach Moshe b'manat chalko kevin. Hello. As we conclude our private prayers, we continue with Sim Shalom, page 165 in Lev Shalem, or 120, the top of page 120 in Sim Shalom.
שים שלום בעולם, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ישראל עמך. ברכנו אבינו כולנו כאחד, באור פניך, לה 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 לה. כי באור פניך נתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, תורת חיים ואהבת חסד, אהבת חסד, יללללללה, וצדקה וברכה, ורחמים וחיים ושלום. שים שלום בעולם, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ישראל עמך. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך, עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שים שלום בעולם, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ישראל עמך. ברוך אתה אדוני, המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
Amen. We continue with Kaddish Shalem, the full Kaddish, 167 in Lev Shalem, 138 in Sim Shalom.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה, בעלמא דברה קירותך, וימליך מלכותך בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכו בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו, אמן. במברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמך דקודשה, בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותון ובאותון דכל ישראל קדם אבוהון דבשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen.
We turn back in our Sidurim to the Psalm for Shabbat in Lev Shalem, page 112, in Sim Shalom, page 72.
היום יום שבת קודש, שבו היו הלווים אומרים בבית המקדש, מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני. עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני, צורי ולא עוולת בו.
Warner's Kaddish is on page 121 in Lev Shalem or 82 in Sim Shalom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah le'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayedachol beit Yisrael v'agalav izman kariv imru amen. Hey shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam omeomaya Barach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We turn now to the Chumash. In the Eitz Chaim, we're on page 198. Any other edition of the Chumash, you're looking for the portion by Yishlach. It is Genesis chapter 32, beginning with verse 4. The blessing for Torah study, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav etzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. In this portion, we continue the story of Jacob. Here he is about to reunite with his twin brother, and its twin brother Esau, after being away for 20 years or so. Jacob comes back to the land of Israel, the land that is destined to his descendants as an inheritance. He comes back with 2 wives, many children, a huge household, and many animals in his flocks. He comes back a wealthy man after he had fled originally over 20 years ago with just the clothes on his back, fearing for his life. And here he is about to reunite with his twin brother, the source of all that fear and anxiety. We'll get to issues within this portion as Marlene Sandberg will be chanting the segments of the portion for us in just a moment. But there's one thing I want to highlight, which I will be highlighting as well a couple times throughout this portion, is how the rabbis understand the portion versus how we read the portion with our own eyes. And so, for example, I spoke about this a little bit this past Wednesday in the Torah study class, how the rabbis take words and events in the Torah portion and use them to teach the lesson that they want to teach, that they think that the rabbis think we are supposed to learn from the Torah. So it's important to understand that when I say the rabbis of the two first important books of Jewish law, the Mishnah and the Talmud. So the rabbis of those two books lived from 100 BCE to 500 CE or thereabouts. So those are the rabbis, when I say the rabbis, who developed the system of Judaism as we know it today. It's based on rabbinic interpretation of the Torah and the Bible, that it is thanks to them that they developed Judaism as we know it. And so part of their development is the interpretation of the Torah and deriving not only Jewish law, which there's an interesting interpretation of Jewish law from this portion, which we'll get to as well, but also the values that we're supposed to learn about what it means to be Jewish, what are the moral and ethical values that they also learn from the Torah and from the Bible. So from something so innocuous as in verse 5 on page 198, Jacob is commanding his messengers to send a message to his twin brother, he commands them saying, this is what you should say to my master, to Esav. This is what I say, your servant Jacob, im Lavan garti, with Lavan I lived. And as I pointed out in the Torah study class, that's a basic element. I live with Lavan, and that's why I delayed until now coming back to meet you. So I lived with Lavan, but the word garti in Hebrew, gimel, resh, taf, yud, the last word on that fourth line on the page 198, the rabbis understand, as the commentary below the line points out, just rearrange the letters and you get an important principle that the rabbis came up with, that there are 613 commandments in Judaism. And numbers, they didn't have numbers the way we have it today. In other words, writing out 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. They used Hebrew letters for numbers. So Taf, Resh, Gimel, Yud, whatever form you have it, however you arrange it, you have those letters right there in that word. Tar Yag, Taf is 400, Resh is 200, so that's 600. Yud is 10, and Gimel is 3. You have 613. And so for the rabbis, when Jacob says, I lived with Lavan, Garti, I lived with Lavan, what we're supposed to learn is the kind of life that Jacob lived was a life of 613 commandments. So we wouldn't get that just by reading this ourselves. And for the rabbis, it's important for them to add that deeper level to it, their interpretations, so that we know then what the so-called true nature of Jacob was. True, according to the rabbis, that he was a man even before the Torah was given, even before the rabbis derived the 613 commandments, that Jacob himself intuited all of that and lived that kind of life. That's the kind of message that the rabbis derive from the Torah, and this is just one example of many in which they take something innocuous and make it very deep and important for us as the reader, that this, for the rabbis, is what we are meant to understand. So Marlene is going to first read for us what is designated as the first Aliyah of Vayishlach. So that's page 198 and 199, verses 4 through 13. So Marlene, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. וישלח יעקב מלאכים לפניו אל עשיו אחיו ארצה שעיר שדה אדום. ויצב אותם לאמור כה תאמרון לאדוני לעשיו כה אמר עבדך יעקב עם לבן גרתי באיכר עד עתה. ויהי לי שור וחמור צאן ועבד ושפחה ואשלך להגיד לאדוני למצוא חן בעיניך. וישובו המלאכים אל יעקב לאמור באנו אל אחיך אל עשיו וגם הולך לקראתך 400 איש עמו. וירא יעקב מאוד ויצר לו ויחץ את העם אשר איתו ואת הצאן ואת הבקר והגמלים לשני מחנות. ויאמר אם יבוא עשיו אל המחנה האחת והיכהו והיה המחנה הנשאר לפליטה. ויאמר יעקב אלוהי אבי אברהם אלוהי אבי יצחק אדוני האומר אלי שוב לארצך ולמולדתך ואיטיבה עמך. קטונתי מכל החסדים ומכל האמת אשר עשית את עבדך כי במקלי עברתי את הירדן הזה כי עתה הייתי לשני מחנות. הצילני נא מיד אחי מיד עשיו כי ירא אנוכי אותו פן יבוא והיכני אם על בנים. ואתה אמרת היטב היטיב עמך ושמתי את זרעך ככל הים אשר לא יספר.
Okay, thank you, Marlene, for reading that first section for us. So we now have, so this is the messengers come back and tell Jacob that Esau is coming with 400 people with him, understood to mean armed people. And so then that night, the Torah portion continues, that night he is on one side of the river, Jacob and his family are, and divides them up and gets ready to, that night, to prepare emotionally for meeting his brother. So Marlene is going to continue for us. The bottom of page 200, the very last line, verse 23, she's going to read till the end of the chapter to verse 33. Even though it looks like it stops at the third aliyah, we go on a couple more verses to end the chapter on page 203. So page 200 to 203. Go ahead, Marlene.
ויקם בלילה הוא ויקח את שתי נשיו ואת שתי שפחותיו את 11 ילדיו ויעבור את מעבר יבוק ויקח חן ויעבירם את הנחל ויעבר את אשר לו ויוותר יעקב לבדו ויאבק איש עמו עד עלות השחר וירא כי לא יכול לו ויגע בכף ירכו ותקע כף ירך יעקב והיאבקו עמו ויאמר שלחני כי עלה השחר ויאמר לו אשלחך כי אם ברכתני ויאמר אליו מה שמך ויאמר יעקב ויאמר לו יעקב יאמר עוד שמך כי אם ישראל כי שרית עם אלוהים ועם אנשים בתוכה וישאל יעקב ויאמר הגידה נא שמך ויאמר
למה זה תשאל לשמי, ויברך אותו שם. ויקרא יעקב שם המקום פניאל, כי ראיתי אלוהים פנים אל פנים, ותנצל נפשי. ויזרח לו השמש כאשר עבר את פנואל, והוא צולע על ירחו. על כן לא יאכלו בני ישראל את גיד הנשר, אשר על כך הירך עד היום הזה, כי נגע בכף ירך יעקב בגיד הנשר.
So this struggle that in this section that Marlene just read, this struggle between Jacob and this being has been a source for commentary throughout the ages. For those who suggest, because it is in the Torah, that a book that obviously describes the relationships of people with God, that it's, of course, it's Jacob wrestling with an angel, and there's nothing unusual about that because of what the Torah is meant to describe. It's a different kind of book, and different kinds of events happen than in normal literature. But because the Torah is meant to teach us values and lessons by which we are supposed to guide our lives, even psychological lessons as well, then we are given the permission to dig deeper into this. Who is Jacob really struggling with? Is this really an event that happened, or is it a dream that is being described? Is it his own psychological struggle that is happening? And the rabbis actually add to that by suggesting that the angel that Jacob is struggling with is actually Esau's angel. The rabbis suggest that every single human being in the world has a guardian angel designated for them, each with its own name. And the rabbis suggest that the angel that Jacob is struggling with is the angel named Samael, who is Esau's angel. And that then provides us with information that could elucidate the kind of struggle that Jacob is having, perhaps as Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, may he rest in peace, in the Devar Torah that posthumously was published this week. The weekly emails from him will continue to be published for the whole Torah reading cycle this year. He printed them ahead of time. Suggests that Jacob struggled with his identity his whole life. He wanted to be the firstborn. He struggled to be the firstborn. He dressed up as the firstborn to get the blessing. He sold food to his brother in order to get the birthright, all of that. And when he was struggling to be somebody he wasn't, bad things were happening. He had to run away from home and etc. Then when he finally confronts really what he was doing his whole life, understanding his own psychology of what it meant to be admitting to himself that he was struggling to be somebody else. Once he struggles with that in the form of Esau's angel, and he comes out of that struggle still alive, then he's given a new name and achieves the identity that he was destined to have. And he takes that identity on himself. So that's one of the many lessons we can learn from this struggle, what spiritual or psychological lessons we can learn. And then, as I mentioned earlier, what is an interesting law that we learn from this struggle? The struggle is meant to be understood in this deep, profound way, and yet the rabbis say, why is it that there is a portion of meat that is considered unkosher from an animal after it is slaughtered, the hind quarter of the animal with the sciatic nerve in it? That's because Jacob was injured in that spot in this struggle. And because he was injured in the Gid Hanasheh, which in that sciatic nerve, therefore Ashkenazim don't eat that portion of the animal. And so as you see below the line on page 202 in the in the gray box there, halacha lamasa, Sephardi butchers know how to take out that sciatic nerve. So in Sephardic kashrut, you can get a kosher filet mignon, but in Ashkenazi practice, you cannot. Based on this this dream sequence. So we go on in the portion, and we one other thing I wanted to bring out. You'll notice on the top of 204 in our edition of the Chumash in Eitz Chaim, you see dots on each of the letters of that word, these black diamonds. That's because in the Torah scroll itself, a Torah scroll has to be written with those dots over that word. Also, for then highlights for the rabbis how Jacob is better than a better person than Esau, and Esau is always his tendency is to evil, according to the rabbis. And so this, when they actually meet, and the verse 4 says, Esau ran to meet him, and he hugged him and fell on his neck and kissed him. That's the dots on that word, and kissed him, and they cried. So for the rabbis, Esau is running with evil intent, and so therefore a miracle happened. He fell upon his neck as if Esau, according to the rabbis, Esau was going to bite Jacob on the neck to do him harm, and miraculously Jacob's neck turned into stone. And then he kissed him because he was looking for jewels or other precious items in Jacob's mouth. And then they cried. And perhaps, according to the Midrash, Esau cried because these things happened to protect Jacob and to highlight Esau's evil intent. It sounds silly, but for the rabbis, it's another opportunity to highlight Jacob's righteousness and Esau's evil nature. We also skip over chapter 34. Marlene is not going to read anything from that today, but this is an important chapter for the future history of what happens in the Torah and later in Jewish history as well. The sequence of the rape of Dinah and Shimon and Levi enacting, taking matters into their own hands and killing all the male inhabitants of the town of Shechem, even though they had reached an agreement that if the inhabitants were to circumcise themselves and thus therefore become part of the tribe of Jacob's family, then they will permit their women and men to intermarry between the Canaanites of Shechem and and people in Jacob's family. But Shimon and Levi don't like that and don't agree to that, and they kill all the male inhabitants of Shechem. That violence from Shimon and Levi, we have that Jacob on his deathbed, in his so-called blessing of his sons, references back to their violence. And later in the Torah, after the incident of the golden calf, when Moses says, "Who's with me to eradicate the evil in our midst and get rid of the people who danced around the golden calf?" It's the tribe of Levi who comes, who answer the call and kill all the people in the Israelite community who danced around the golden calf. So their tendency to violence then is then tempered by the tradition that Levi, the tribe of Levi, ends up being the people who are to serve in the Mishkan, and to be the subset of Levi, the Kohanim, are from the tribe of Levi, are the priests in the community, and Levi becomes the singers of the Psalms and the co-officiants of the service. So from the Torah, we understand this story then, this story of the rape of Dinah is important in the Torah to understand the future history of the tribe of Levi and how they transform. God tries to transform them from their violent nature into a people that, a group that ends up serving God on behalf of the community. We also then see that Jacob and Esau then come back together to bury their father Isaac. And it is this section that Marlene is going to read for us. It's all of page 215 in the Eitz Chaim, chapter 35, verses 22 to 29. Go ahead, Marlene.
Vayehi Mishkan Yisrael ba'aretz hahih vayelech Reuven vayishkav et Bilha pilegesh aviv vayishma Yisrael vayehiyu b'nei Yaakov shneim asar b'nei Leah b'chor Yaakov Reuven v'Shimon v'Levi v'Yehuda Issachar uZebulun B'nei Rachel Yosef uBenyamin uBnei Bilha Shivchat Rachel Dan v'Naftali uBnei Zilpah Shivchat Leah Gad v'Asher Ele b'nei Yaakov Asher yulad lo b'Padan Aram Vayavo Yaakov el Yitzchak Aviv Mamre Kiryat Ha'arba Hi Hebron Asher gar Sham Yaakov v'Yitzchak Vayehiyu Yemei Yitzchak Ma'at Shana U'Shmonim Shana Vayikva Yitzchak Vayamad Vayasef el Amav Zaken Usva Yamim Vayikberu Otov Esav Yaakov Banav.
So Yasha Koach, Marlene, thank you very much for reading the Torah for us this morning. The portion then ends with providing a genealogy of Esau to understand who his descendants are. And among his descendants is Amalek. So that's an important note for later history, later events in the Torah and later events in the Bible, because of course, it is the nation of Amalek that attacks Israel after they cross the sea upon the exodus from Egypt, and also, of course, in the book of Esther. In the book of Samuel, King Saul tries to fulfill the commandment of annihilating the nation of Amalek, and he does so, but he leaves the king and the flocks alive. The king of Amalek at the time was Agag. And then later in the book of Esther, Haman, the arch enemy of the people, is known as an Agagite. And so therefore the rabbis, they suggest that Haman is descended from Amalek. So that genealogy here of Esau becomes that much more important for later Jewish history. Before we get to the Haftarah, I want to, at this point, recite the prayer for those who are ill. It's on page 173 in the Lev Shalem, or 144 in Sim Shalom. So unmute yourselves if you have a name or names to add to my list of names, and then I'll go around the screen and I will call on you to add those names. Okay. V'imotenu Sarif Garachav Leah, Hu Yivarech Verpei Et HaCholim, Shmuel ben Karet, Penina bat Chanaleah, Simatzivia bat Zelda, Tzipachana bat Golda, Ruth bat Sarah, Nes Gildor ben Shoshan, Roma ben Golda, Tzivia Sarah bat Simaleah, Simchanatan ben Risachana, Avia Sarah bat Cyril Issa, Rachel Penina bat Ariella, Sipor Sheva bat Rezel, Chaim ben Rachaleah, Gavriel ben Batia, Yehuda ben Leah, Fruma Dereda bat Zisha, Malka Chava bat Sevia Sarah, Batia bat Rivka, Oya Hyacinth, Howard Salter, Shira Ali Sheva bat Sarah, Yosef Shlomo ben Batia, John Alcoba, Rachel Froma bat Itarezel, Deborah Sheshel bat Rachel, Ephraim ben Golda, Yaakov Hirsch ben Sipora, Batia Cyril bat Sheva, Lansky's.
Elachana bat Fega.
David Shapiro. Do you have a name? Okay. Cantor Adina and Glenn.
Gershon ben Freya, Baruch ben Rachel, Yirmiyahu Aryeh ben Rachel, Rachel bat Leah, Rudadina bat Sarah, Rina bat Gabriella.
Gretchen Marianne Klein, Livia bat Rachel, Reuven Asher ben Leah.
David Shapiro, you were frozen before. Do you have a name to add to this list?
David Ezra ben Raphael, Devorah, and Gershon ben Moshe Sarah.
Okay. David Polinsky.
Hannah Barchana.
Charlotte Shapiro. Charlotte Petoskey.
Irene Heckler, Ricky Weiser, Michael Weiser, Donna Cohn, Beverly Tillis, Jay Manius, Yehuda Bat Yitzchak, Avram Ben Moshe, Albert Masley, and Jordan Polensky.
And Michael Gross.
Miriam Sarah bat Brina, David ben Shana, Sarah Miriam bat Rachel, and Charnalea bat Chaya Sarah.
Audrey Haber.
Ed Kolansky and Joe Allen Musson.
Susan Rubenstein.
Cindy Rubenstein Andrews, Jeannie Shapiro Downey.
Marlene.
Francis Silver.
Rita.
Tara bat Freda Rivka, Sila bat Zipporah, Avram ben Gittis, Sylvia bat Sarah, Brina Freda bat Mildred, and Yehuda ben Sila.
Dad.
Moshe ben Miriam, Minda Fruma bat Malka Fredel, Rav Ephraim ben Yenta, Tzvi Achaya bat Chana, Mordechai ben Sprinza Pessel.
Danny Ben.
Adrian Pershan and Alvin Ben.
Margie and Steve.
Abraham Ben from Elka.
Marv Kruger.
Tony Bloor.
And let me see if there's anybody else. I think is that Arnie Greenland.
Avraham Ben Zelda.
Elizabeth.
Bonnie Grossinger and Joyce Cates.
Okay, I think that is it. וכל החולים בקהילתנו, הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם, להחזיקם לרפאותם וישלח להם מהרה רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף בתוך שאר החולים, וחזק ידידי העוסקים בצורכיהם, שבתים לזכור רפואה קרובה לבוא, השל בגלה בזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן. Debbie Friedman song. מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength to bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. So the Haftarah this morning is actually going to be the Haftarah that's designated for Sephardim from last week's portion. There's there are different traditions about which Haftarah to do for Vayetze, which to do for Vayishlach. And Stuart Zinnemer, who's going to chant the Haftarah for us this morning, is celebrating the anniversary, the 22nd anniversary of his bar mitzvah today. And he did this Haftarah that begins on page 195. It's taken from the prophet Hosea, who uses the Jacob and Esau story as an example for Hosea's prophetic lesson to the people. The idea, Hosea prophet was one of the first prophets in Israelite history, prophesying to a people in the northern kingdom of Israel who were most transgressing of God's ways of the entire Israelite nation. And he uses imagery from the Torah to try to highlight the people's transgressions and to convince them to return to the covenant and return to God's blessings. So the Haftarah is on 195. The blessings before and after the Haftarah in Siv Shalom are on 146 and 47. And in Lev Shalem, it's on page 175. Go ahead, Stuart.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu lemelech haolam asher bachar b'yamim tovim v'atzah b'divrei hamim b'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'torah u'masher ado u'Yisrael amo.
Amen.
Ve'ami telui dimashivati ve'al yikra'u yahalo yeramen etecha Ephraim amagencha Yisrael etecha Kema asincha kitzboi nepach alai libi Yachad mikmeru mechamai hello esech kabon api lo leashu es Ephraim ki el anochi belarish ki becha kadosh below abo beir achaway Adonai Yelahu karye Yishak kihu Yishak vechadu bani niam Kechedu chetzipor mitzrayim ohayonam eretz ashur v'shatim al batehem na'um Adonai uzebavu li v'chachash Ephraim u'virama beit Yisrael v'huda otma imel v'tem kedoshim ne'eman Ephraim bo'el v'u'averdes kadim Kazo gasho Yehovah uvri imasher yivatu v'shem lemitzmayim yival Badonai Elohei chatzvot
Im Yehuda.
V'riv Adonai v'yehuda v'liska ya'aka kivacha kemala shihiv lo ba'betem akaf achi Ueno Sawa Elohim Vayasa Ma'af V'achal V'achal V'behem Lo Be'el Yimsanu V'sham Yedaber Imanu Adonai Hey Hatzvot Adonai Zikwo Nan V'yado Where was Merma La Chesed Mishpat Shemo. Tell me, none ve'ado was Merma la shoka cave. Vayomer Ephraim, ach asharti matzati lonely. Koyikia lo imsalivin ashavachay.
Anochi
Ahavi Adonai.
Elohecha me'eretz Mitzrayim.
Mayim okayona.
Now, Vanochi Adonai
Vanochi
Adonai Elohecha.
Meretz Mitzrayim. Oh, Hoshecha Ba'alim. Ki mei ma'e. V'dibarti el Chavi. Chazon Yerbetzi. Uviyat Habayim Adamei. In Gilad Aven, Akshav Hayu, Vagilaga, Shevarin Sibehu Gam, Hizabata Kikalim, Atame Sadai, Babu Kadana Lahenu, Halam Sokolami, Satipo Hadabo, Hanaman, Viamabese, and the Verakain, Shikotaba, Emabat Sadek, Neman Sakurana Henu, and Laviataha. Wahami parecha holashavekam Kiamelanaman, Bechamanata, Babuchata, Adonai. Ayahanamanahadabara.
Amen.
Well, hey, Masion Kivahay, the Fetoshia, Biamenu, Babuchata, Adonai. Missimiasion Yavaneha.
Amen.
So, hey, you Adonai, Elavia Dahab, Petevi Mashika, Vikaiwan, the Gilly Benu. Akistolo, Races are below economy Ecuador. Kishin Kochanis Patalo, Shiloh, Mane, will lay lombard. Babuchata Adonai. Magain David.
Amen.
Ahatawa Aviavadarin. Ayamachawaka Serson, Atakalanu. Adonai, these seven you Ukavodi Tifaret. Karanana, Elohim, Badakni, Madimala. Ubahim Octavia. Visika Befiko Khatami, the Alamba. Babuchata Adonai. Kadesh Hashabbat.
Amen. Ending with a flourish there, Stuart. Nicely done.
Thank you.
A high five to you on the screen there. Very good.
Next year I might be doing it in the building.
That's what we hope for, Stuart. And that's what we all hope for. And you did a great job. Yasha Koach.
Thank you.
Mazel tov on the anniversary of your bar mitzvah. It was great. And
thank you.
glad you're able to do the Haftarah for us.
Good morning to everyone.
All right. We continue in the service. And for the prayers, first, the prayer for those who serve the community, I asked Marilyn Kessler to read this prayer for us, which is on page 176 in the Lev Shalem or 148 in the Sim Shalom. So unmute yourself, Marilyn, and then.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, a prayer for those who serve the community. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless this entire congregation, together with all other holy congregations, they, their families, and all that is theirs, along with those who devote themselves to establish synagogues for prayer, as well as those who enter them to pray, and those who provide for their maintenance, wine for Kiddush and Havdalah, food for guests, bread for the hungry, tzedakah for the poor, and shelter for the homeless, and all who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of this community and the land of Israel. May the Holy One reward them, remove sickness from them, heal them, and forgive their sins. May God bless them by making all their worthy endeavors prosper, as well as those of the entire people Israel, their brothers and sisters. And let us all say, Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Marilyn. I had asked Ken Libby to do the prayer for our country. Is Ken here? So I don't want to put anybody on the spot. So our God and God of our ancestors, with mercy, accept our prayer on behalf of our country and its government. Pour out your blessing upon this land, upon its inhabitants, upon its leaders, its judges, officers, and officials who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of the public. Help them understand the rules of justice you have decreed, so that peace and security, happiness and freedom will never depart from our land. Adonai, God, whose spirit is in all creatures, we pray that your spirit be awakened within all the inhabitants of our land. Uproot from our hearts hatred and malice, jealousy and strife. Plant love and companionship, peace and friendship among the many peoples and faiths who dwell in our nation. Grant us the knowledge to judge justly, the wisdom to act with compassion, and the understanding and courage to root out poverty from our land. May it be your will that our land be a blessing to all who dwell on earth, and may you cause all peoples to dwell in friendship and freedom, speedily fulfill the vision of your prophets. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore, for all of them, from the least of them to the greatest, shall know me. And let us say, Amen. Margie Eiserreich will read the prayer for Israel now, page 178 in Lev Shalem or 149 in Sim Shalom.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Avinu Shabbat Shamayim, Sur Yisrael v'goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Smichat Gulatenu, Hagein Aleha be'evrat chasdecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha Vahamitcha, L'Rosheha Tzareha V'yoatzeha, V'taknem be'etza tova milfanecha, Chazek et yidei mignei eretz kadshenu, v'hanchilem Eloheinu Yeshua, ve'ateret nitzachon ta'atrem, v'natata shalom ba'aretz, v'simchat olam liyoshvecha, v'nomar amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Margie, and thank you, Marilyn, for reading the prayers for us. Dina Eber is going to lead us responsively in Ashrei on page 181 in Lev Shalem or 151 in Sim Shalom. So,
Hey.
okay.
Okay.
Right.
Cool. Ashrei v'techa, o yichalecha selah.
Ashrei
Am shekachalo, Ashrei Ham she'Adonai Elohav.
Tehillah leDavid, aramimcha Elohai hamelech, v'varcha shimcha le'olam va'ed.
Bechol yom avarcheka, va'ahalela shimcha le'olam va'ed.
Gadol Adonai mulam me'od, ve'li gedulato ein cheker.
Nor ledo yeshabach ma'asecha, ugevorotecha yagidu.
Hadar kavod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha.
Ve'ezuz norotecha yomeru, ugedulatecha asaprena.
Zecher rav tzivcha yabiyu, v'tzidakatecha yiranenu.
Chanun verachum Adonai, erech apayim ugadol chesed.
Tov Adonai l'kol, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav.
Yoducha Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yevarchucha.
Kevod malchutecha yomeru, ugevuratecha yudaberu.
Lehodia livnei ha'adam gevorotav, uchvod hadar malchuto.
Malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha bechol dor vador.
Somech Adonai lechol hanoflim, vezokef lechol hakefufim.
Eine kol elecha yesaberu, v'ata noten lahem et uchlam b'ito.
Poteach et yadecha, umasbia lechol chai ratzon.
Tzadik Adonai b'chol derechav, v'chasid b'chol ma'asav.
Karov Adonai lechol korav, lechol asher yikra'u ve'emet.
Retzon yirei av yaseh, v'et shavatam yishma v'yoshim.
Shomer Adonai et kol ohavav, ve'et kol reshaim yashmid.
Tehillat Adonai edeber pi, v'varich kol bashar shem kodsher le'olam va'ed.
Va'anachnu nevarech yach, me'ata v'ad olam. Hallelujah.
Yasher koach, Dina. That was beautifully done.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good. And so we continue with Chatzi Kaddish for Musaf. We rise if we can. 184 in Lev Shalem, 155 in Sim Shalom, and then on the next page we start the Amida out loud.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemek rabah, ve'alma divra kirutech, ve'yamlich malchutech b'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv, ve'imeru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach, Le'alam u'le'alamei amaya, yitbarach וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמך דקודשה בריחו לעילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמך, ואמרו אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ופוקד, ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים.
מקדיש חצות שיח צווי קודש, מקדישים
נריצך ונקדישך כסוד שיח שרפי קודש, המקדישים שמך בקודש, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו.
שלום זעזע מקום כל עולמתם, ברוך ימירו.
כבודו מלא עולם, משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, איה מקום כבודו לעומתם, ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו.
המייחדים שמו כתובים במים בעבר, שמרים.
ממקומו הוא יפן ברחמים, ויחון עם המייחדים שמו ערב בבוקר, בכל יום תמיד, פעמיים ביעבה, שמע אומרים, שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. הוא אלוהינו אבינו, הוא מלכנו מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך. ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, דור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, כי אל מלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, גדול וקדוש אתה. כי אל מלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, גדול וקדוש אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We continue silently in Lev Shalem 188 to 192 and Sim Shalom 158 to 161. As we conclude our private prayers, we continue with Sim Shalom 191 in Lev Shalem, or the top of 161 in Sim Shalom.
שים שלום בעולם, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך, ברכנו אבינו כולנו כאחד, באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, תורת חיים ואהבת חסד, אהבת חסד, וצדקה וברכה ורחמים, וחיים ושלום. שים שלום בעולם, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שים שלום בעולם, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
Amen. We could continue with Kaddish Shalem, the full Kaddish 203 and Lev Shalem 181 in Sim Shalom.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה, ועלמא דברה קירותך, וימליך מלכותך בחיי חון וביומי חון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו, אמן. יהי שמך רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמך דקודשה וכולי לה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותיהן ובאותיהן דכל ישראל קדם אבוהן דבשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. אין כאלוהינו, אין כאדוננו, אין כמלכנו, אין כמושיענו, מי כאלוהינו, מי כאדוננו, מי כמלכנו, מי כמושיענו. נודה לאלוהינו, נודה לאדוננו, נודה למלכנו, נודה למושיענו. ברוך אלוהינו, ברוך אדוננו, ברוך מלכנו, ברוך מושיענו. אתה הוא אלוהינו, אתה הוא אדוננו, אתה הוא מלכנו, אתה הוא מושיענו. אתה הוא שהכתירו אבותינו לפניך את קטורת הסמים. ינה נה 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 נה, ינה נה 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 נה, ינה נה 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 נה, ינה נה 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 נה. אמר רבי אלעזר, אמר רבי חנינא, תלמידי חכמים שלום שנאמר. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום מחשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת. אין עוד, אין עוד, אלוהינו. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
I'll be reciting the El Male, the memorial prayer for those who have passed within the past 30 days, and also yard sites for today and this coming week. El Male Rachamim, Shochem Bamrumim, Amatzem Nucha Nechona Tacha Kanfei Ashchina, B'ma'aloko Shimatorim Kazaraki Amasirim, Lenishmot, Daniel Makaroff, Daniel Ben Tzvi Dovelea, Carol Helfer, Chaya Bat Moshe, Udavora, Fanny Bleacher, Fega Bat Moshe, Albert Edelstein, Avraham Mordechai Ben Moshe Verivka, Mary Feldman, Leo Grenker, Avraham Leib Ben Michael, Leon Handen, Sylvia Dorf Hecht, Sarah Bat Reb Melech, Larry Kahn, Eliezer Ben Mordechai HaKohen, Ann Katz, Marcia Kaunitz, Beatrice Gross, Brina Bat Moshe, Esther Cohen, Esther Bat Yaakov, Gertrude Kushner, Louis Frank, Eliezer Ben Yehuda, Louis Levine, Leona Morin, Leah Bat Tzvi Hirsch, Chana Resnick, Chana Bat Reb Chaim, Francis Ross, Max Schwartz, Mordechai Tzvi Ben Yaakov Chaim, Rose Teller, Rachela Bat Yisrael Vehaina, Louis Wagenheim, Shmuel ben Avraham, Francis Alper, Louise Cohen, Fredo Leah Greenberg, Joseph Haber, Yosef ben Aaron Halevi, Joseph Harkaway, Morris Perlman, Elimelech ben Yeshaya Tevya, Pearl Perlman, Perl Batreb David Leba Cohen, Milton Perman, Robert Owen Savage, Helen Schwartz, Hannah Bat Shmuel Leba Cohen, Sam Slotnick, Sam Epstein, Shimon ben Baruch, Henry Gedelsky, Chena Bat Reb Yitzchak, Maurice Margolis, Moshe ben Shlomo Leib, Dora Srego, Goldie Trachtman, Miriam Bat David, Stephen Bender, Simcha ben Meyer Vigittel, Ray Dalek, Rachel Tirza, Bat Reb Zalman Isaac Halevi, Gilda Green, Jennifer Irene Savit, Chaya Bat Reb Mendel Ubela, Seal Shapiro, Devora Bat Leib Vachana, Saul Wylans, Ken Zajic, Kalman ben Yosef Vibasa, and Fanny Zucker, Fega Bat Reb Tzvi Dov, Shehalchu Olamam, Began Eden Tei Menuchatam, Anabal Harachamim, Hasterim Beseter Kanafecha Lolamim, Utzor Betzor Chaim and Nishmotehem, Adonai Hu Nachalatam, V'yanuchu B'Shalom Amishkavotehem, V'nomar Amen. Mourner's Kaddish is found in Lev Shalem on 207 or Sim Shalom on 184. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayedachol Beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ol me'ol maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Eila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Before we conclude the service with Adon Olam and then Delansky's doing Kiddush for us, just a couple of announcements. I understand that there's an issue with some people getting onto the link for services or for programs because of it requiring a password. We'll look into that to make sure that that doesn't happen. People say that happens with the links from the Shabbat sheet, and that's most important of all, and also from the calendar on the shul website. So we will look into that to make sure that that is fixed. This evening, Shabbat is over about just before 5:30. So we'll have Minyan and Havdalah at 5:30 this evening. Tomorrow, service as usual at 8:45, but there won't be the adult education classes because of the Hanukkah workshop, with noted Jewish storyteller Renee Brackfeld. So she's excellent, and if you haven't registered yet, there's still time to register for that program, which is from 10 till noon tomorrow morning. And then we have the Hanukkah gift bags to either come by the shul between 12 and 3 tomorrow afternoon to pick it up, or it will be delivered to you. So hopefully you let Babette and Scylla know your preference. And there's a whole list of Hanukkah programs coming this coming week, and we're looking forward to candlelighting all together on Zoom for every evening of Hanukkah. But there are two other times. There's on Sunday the 13th, where there's the fourth night of Hanukkah, there's a shul program. So the Hanukkah candlelighting will be part of that shul program on Zoom. And the last night of Hanukkah, you'll get more information about that. We can do that in person on Thursday, December 17th. Coming to shul, limit of 30 cars in the parking lot for that in-person lighting of an electric Hanukkah menorah, and also to pick up food pre-ordered from Char Bar. So that's for the last night of Hanukkah on the 17th. But if you can't make it and don't want to come to the shul, it'll be on Zoom, and so you can watch that way as well. So, and finally, I want to express condolences to Don Helfer on the passing of his wife this past week, to his wife Carol, and condolences to Marilyn Pontel on the passing of her brother, Daniel Makaroff, also this past week. Everything else is in the Shabbat sheet, and we conclude with Adon Olam on page 211 in Lev Shalem, or 187 in Sim Shalom.
Adon Olam asher malach beterem kol yitzir nivra leknaso v'chefzo kol azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora והוא היום, והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו, להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, בלא העוז, והמשרה, והוא אלי, וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בצרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי, ביום אקרא בידו, אפקיד רוחי, בית אישן בעירה, ואם רוחי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא.
Shabbat Shalom, Yasha Koach to Cantor Adina, as always, for leading us beautifully in the service today. Yasha Koach also for everyone who participated in the service today, for Marlene for reading Torah, Stuart Zittimer for the 22nd anniversary of his bar mitzvah for chanting the Haftarah for us this morning, to Marilyn Kessler and Margie Eiserreich for reading those prayers, for Dina Eber for doing the Ashrei so beautifully for us as well. We can follow along with Kiddush on page 77 in Lev Shalem, or 315 in Sim Shalom. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael t'Shabbat la'asara Shabbat l'doratam brit olam b'nei uvein b'nei Yisrael t'li olam ki sheishet yamim as Adonai t'shamayim v'et haaretz uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash zachor yom ha'Shabbat l'kodsho sheshi yamim tavod v'asida kom lachtecha v'yom hashvi Shabbat Adonai Elohecha lo taseh kom lacha ata v'imcha v'techa v'decha v'amatcha v'emtecha v'gercha shebisharecha ki sheshi yamim as Adonai t'shamayim v'et haaretz yom ha'kol she'bam v'yanach b'yom hashvi'i al kein beirach Adonai et Yom HaShabbat v'yekadshehu savri.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen.
Amen. Yasha Koach Lansky's. Oh, and thank you to Josh and helpers for being the Zoom co-hosts this morning as well. So you can unmute yourselves. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom. Yasher koach, mami.
Baruch Hasi, Betsy.
Yasher Koach to Marlene and to Stuart. Yasher Koach.
Yasher Koach, Stuart.
Judy.
That was the bears.
Yeah.
Was the funeral for Mrs. Helfer this week, or is it going to happen?
It was on Monday.
Got it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
a lot of people from the old neighborhood.
I'm gonna close out, okay?
Stuart, you did a great job.
everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you for having me doing this.
You bet.
Go off, Stuart.
Like you said,
Thank
we
you.
will be in the building next
Thank you
time.
very much.
Watch
I
you.
went out for a second.
Do me a favor, go catch a Care Bear.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
There will be one at the parking lot at Shofar Hanukkah.
And Dina did a great job with Ashray. So that was
Great job, Dina.
Beautiful, Dina.
yeah, looking forward
You
to
know, you need to catch a Care Bear. It's a holiday season.
And all right.
All right.
Oh,
Good day, everyone.
bye.
Okay.